Zimbabwe remains calm a day after its army chief, President Jacob Zuma, in his capacity as a SADC chairperson, has called an urgent meeting today to discuss the political and security situation within Zimbabwe. These are the visuals from the streets of Harare, where life seems to be going on at a normal pace. Armored personnel carriers and troops were deployed to roads leading towards Harare on Tuesday, a day after the Army Chief General Constantino Chiwenga warned the military may intervene after Mugabe fired Mnangagwa last week. While the streets might be abuzz with activity, the airport and other prominent installations have a thick army presence.
I can tell you that the streets of Harare remain very calm, still a very tense situation, and of course everything is still very fluid this morning. Just yesterday we had the ZANU-PF Youth League leader, his name is Hosea Chipanga, who had appeared on the national broadcaster ZBC a few days ago, denigrating the army commander and condemning him for having come out and pronounced that as the army they will be ready to take over and make sure that the situation remains calm in the country. Well, he came on the ZBC. He appeared as breaking news around 10:30 p.m. last night, apologizing, backtracking on his words, apologizing on behalf of the Youth League and himself unreservedly, and begging the national commander Chiwenga to accept his apology and blaming his utterances on being young and making mistakes, obviously having been put in the corner by the recent events in Zimbabwe and how they have developed. Well, this morning we're expecting the SADC envoy sent by the chair, that's President Zuma, is expected to mediate between Mugabe and the military to see how that meeting pans out. There has been talks of some kind of an interim power sharing deal that is expected between Gineso Dabengwa. He served way back during the Rhodesian Bush War as the head of the Zimbabwe People's Revolutionary Army, which was the armed wing of ZANU-PF then. And of course, between Mnangagwa being taunted as being the interim president and Changirai being one of the deputies as well. That's those are the recommendations and the reports that are going through the rounds. But of course, we'll be following that SADC and we're meeting to see what pans out there. I can confirm members of the G40 party, that's the faction that is affiliated with the First Lady Grace Mugabe. Some of them are still in custody, including the Finance Minister Chombo, who's well known for accumulating massive wealth, a number of properties across the country. Of course, having enjoyed the support of the First Lady, is still in custody.
The ZANU-PF Youth League leader, Kudzai Chipanga, appeared on Zimbabwe State TV last night and apologized for criticizing General Constantino Chiwenga for calling for an end to the purges of war veterans.
Still growing up, we learn from our mistakes, and from this big mistake, we have learned a lot. I also like to emphasize that this statement which I have given, I have not been persuaded, neither coerced or forced to do as such. I'm emphasizing that I have reflected on my own as a young person, as a leader of the Youth League. Hence, I have come to this juncture of offering myself to the state media to give this public apology. We shall also make splendid efforts to approach the commanders of our defense forces in person so that we convey this apology.
Well, PDP provincial spokesperson Lovemore Chukucha joins us on the phone line. Good morning to you, Lovemore. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, talk to us about what you think regarding the military taking over in Zimbabwe currently.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you.
That's right. What is happening in Zimbabwe is actually a change of situation whereby the change of democracy has arrived in Zimbabwe. And with the latest development that are happening, and it really shows that the ZANU-PF has lost power, and we welcome the stand that has been taken by the army in trying to change the situation in Zimbabwe.
Now, are we likely to see early elections or perhaps a power-sharing model coming into place?
No, at the present moment, it is not about early elections, but there is a need of a transitional government, which is National Transitional Authority, that can be represented from all political parties or non-partisan leaders to create a soft landing to address the issue of reconciliation, to address the issue of peace and social contract, and also to address the issue of electoral reform. There is no point of going to the early elections without electoral reform, because the elections in Zimbabwe are not done free and fairly, and that will mean nothing to the general public of Zimbabweans, because Zimbabweans need a democratic government that is elected on a fair ground. So National Transition Authority will ensure there is free and fair elections and people will elect the leader they want. And Zimbabwe will start to move in a democratic way, and democracy will be restored in Zimbabwe. Social contract will be restored in Zimbabwe.
What do you think regarding the SADC envoy that's been sent to Zimbabwe to try and negotiate with President Robert Mugabe? Do you see positive results coming from that?
I'm quite surprised with the quick reaction from the SADC to come and intervene in the domestic affairs of Zimbabweans. When people were suffering long back, when people were killed, people were beaten in the streets, and the videos were really posted on social media, on TV, and there was nothing like intervention from the SADC, AU, and in other bodies. As they have just showed now, in few hours they have already converged to have meetings and so forth. This is kind of like one-sided thing about the government, but not really favoring democracy. It actually showing the weaker side of our organization with regard to SADC and AU. These guys should actually stand for the people, not for the persons or the head of state. Because people are tired. When you see people taking these actions, it means that the solution is within the people's hands, and they should allow us also to try to solve the things. And what we don't want is escalating to violence. We need negotiations. I understand that within Zimbabwe there are priests, and we're negotiating together with spokesperson from ZANU-PF and try to negotiate the way out and allow Mugabe to step down. And the only solution is for Robert Mugabe to actually accept that he dismally failed. Constitutionally, he failed to uphold his office, even though he was elected. He should, if he loves for the peace for his country, he should actually accept to step down and allow transitional government to take place. Because if he loves his people, if he loves his country, why is he trying to hold on to power and try to create unconditional, to create a very difficult condition to the people? So he should step down and allow peace to go ahead. People in Zimbabwe are peaceful. We don't want violence. We want peace to keep on going. We want to go about our daily activities. Zimbabweans are stronger and will keep on being stronger.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here on VOG Africa this morning. That was the PDP provincial spokesperson, Lovemore Chukucha, joining us there on the phone line, just letting us know that Zimbabweans are indeed peaceful and that the solution is in the hands of the citizens, and President Robert Mugabe should step down and allow a peaceful transition. ANN7 caught up with some ordinary Zimbabweans on the streets of Harare. Let's take a listen to what they had to say.
We uphold the gallant role taken by the Zimbabwe Defense Forces in defense of Zimbabwe's constitution and to normalize the situation within the ruling ZANU-PF. When a revolution is unfolding, it is difficult for a political practitioner to be able to tell you exactly what will happen. But the day will tell.
They might be delayed, but they will always happen. The solution to any coup, to any takeover that might be done now is an election. And we know that an election is coming. Otherwise, with this situation that we have now, we are looking towards a free and fair election. Because now we will easily see the intervention of the international community and other bodies that would like to see standard elections being done in Zimbabwe.
It's a sad day for the tenets of democracy.
The reason being that, whenever you see the military getting involved in civil politics, it's a worrying situation, particularly for Zimbabwe right now, where we were, on an overdrive for voter registration, expecting the elections and also expecting that we were going to unseat the current regime via a credible election. Now the military moving in sort of sends shivers to the whole democratic movement, sends shivers to the whole hope that the Zimbabweans had for regime change.
The political parties too are maintaining a studied silence on the matter.
The military has taken over in order to usher in a dispensation in which self-correction is needed, firstly in the party, and it will also pilfer to the country. The army has decided to stay away from getting the power, and their intention is to make sure that what we had seen for the past few months or so could possibly degenerate into violent clashes if they are left unattended. And hence they have come in to ensure that those issues are attended to. The army generals are quite cognizant of what the SADC and the United Nations as well as the AU protocols say with respect to issues of civilian authority. And it is for this reason why they've said that in the shortest possible time, they would want to ensure that normalcy retains and the power is given to those that are supposed to be running the country. And the most critical too is the fact that they have said, let all functionaries that ensure that the state is running continue to operate.
The majority of the people of Zimbabwe do not support a coup or a military takeover, but the majority of Zimbabwe, they want political change. After 37 years of Mugabe's rule, they believe that there must be change. So there is a division in terms of how then do you deal with the current situation.
It's not the first time that the military has been involved in operation in Zimbabwe. You've got to understand we've got a program called Command Agriculture, which is the most successful program, which was chaired by the ousted Vice President, Emmerson Mnangagwa, which was there to ensure that we've got food and that we don't import maize and so forth. It went very well. No one complained about them leading that program so that we get food. The military, too, has been involved in the building of hospitals, schools, evacuation. No one says anything about that. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with the military being involved because it is quite constitutional, and at the end of the day, it is a military for the people.
President Jacob Zuma has called an urgent meeting of the SADC countries to discuss the situation in Zimbabwe. South Africa's special envoy to Zimbabwe will begin talks this morning. Defense Minister Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula and her state security counterpart, Bongani Bongo, arrived in Harare last night. Yesterday, President Jacob Zuma spoke to President Robert Mugabe, who indicated that he's confined to his home but says he's fine. UK Ambassador to United Nations Matthew Rycroft appeals for calm in Zimbabwe. Rycroft urged all the parties involved to respect the needs for safety and security and not resort to violence.
It's unfolding rapidly, and I don't want to say anything prematurely, but what we call on is for everyone to respect the need for safety and security and for no descent into violence. So we appeal for calm and for the situation to remain stable.